News Film Station of the Year.
Larry Rasco in Houston with Jack's World at Large. When a young man attempted to rob the McGregor Park National Bank shortly after noon today, it set off a fantastic chain of events. By 3 o'clock it was all over, but in those short 3 hours, 3 banks had been held up, another threatened, 4 young men were in custody, and $12,000 was missing. It began when a young man approached teller Mrs. Mayon Gramillion with a note, saying her son was being held hostage and demanding money. She stalled long enough for officers to arrive and arrest him. Within a half hour, teller Mrs. Winnell Branch at the Belfort State Bank on Belfort was telling police the identical story. In that case, however, the youth left with the money. He was arrested in Pasadena without it. Even then, with 2 bank robberies to investigate, the work of the robbery division officers and FBI agents had just begun, because within an hour, teller Ernestine Michaud at the Spring Branch State Bank on Katy had been held up. Each of the young men told identical stories of having been hired by a 30 to 35-year-old man and of following his instructions to pick up a payroll at the bank. Police believe them because late today, all 4 boys were released without charges. Channel 2 News interviewed the principals in each one of the cases. Tom Jarrell has their stories after this word from Jack's.
All right, what can I do for you kangaroos?
Harry, order some Jack's beer.
Quiet, Edith. I know what I'm doing. Bartender, we'd like 2 glasses of mellow Jack, please, with the real beer taste, premium brewed from 100% natural ingredients.
Premium brewed from 100% natural ingredients.
Mellow, bright, clear, and light.
Mellow, bright, and clear, and light.
All right, Otto, that's enough. You know the Jacks I mean? Fine, bartender.
Once you've tried Jack's, you'll never get me satisfied with any other beer.
Otto, put your head in that pouch and keep quiet.
You heard your father. Are we getting the Jacks?
Yes, of course, Edith. We're getting the Jacks.
Bartender, even more mellow Jacks. I'd like 2 glasses.
Edith, tell me when you want something.
All right, I'd like 2 more glasses.
2 more glasses, bartender.
2 more glasses of Jack's.
Mellow Jacks.
With the real beer taste.
With the real beer taste.
Premium brewed from 100% natural ingredients.
Where's Otto?
Oh, Harry, I've had my pocket picked.
The bank extortion scheme worked to a T at the Belfort State Bank in southeast Houston. Here's the way it happened. A lone man entered the bank with a sealed envelope and handed it to chief teller, Mrs. Winnell Branch.
He just walked up to my window very nonchalantly and handed me this note, and I opened it up, and when I saw that it had my daughter's name in it, I immediately started to do what the note said.
Investigating robbery detective J.E. Hodges explains what was written in the note.
It's typewritten. Typewritten, the note says, "Keep calm. We have your daughter, Sandy Lynn, who we picked up at the school on the pretense that you were hurt in an accident. Don't warn anyone of this. The safety of your daughter is at stake. Handle this like any other transaction. Fill the bag with 100s, 50s, 20s, 10s, and 5s. Give it to the man, then go to the bathroom and wait 15 minutes before notifying anyone. If you stall or don't follow these instructions to the T, your daughter has had it. Remember, do you want your daughter's life on your conscience? We don't care."
I waited until he drove off so I could get his license number, and then I went to the back like the note told me, said.
You did get a description of the car as it drove away.
Yes.
And when did you alert police?
Well, I didn't. As I went back to the back, I motioned another lady to go with me, and I told her about it, and then she came and told Mr. Wilson. He notified the police.
We saw your daughter brought in to the bank. How did you feel at that moment?
About the best I've ever felt, I guess.
You were convinced then that they did have her?
Well,
Entirely convinced.
When there's a chance there, you just can't help but think that they might.
The woman's 10-year-old daughter was found safe at Gregg Elementary School. Police took her to the bank and launched an all-out search for the man with $12,000 he got from the cashier. A 26-year-old man, matching the description of the note carrier, was arrested a short while later in nearby Pasadena. However, Joel Wayne Tyndall insisted he was a pawn who was asked to deliver a note to the bank and pick up a company payroll. He said a man named Hudson hired him to run the errand and then collected the money after it was over.
In Houston? Right.
You didn't know this was a threat at the time? You didn't know this was actually a threat?
No.
Charles King, who told Spring Branch Police he was hired through the Texas Employment Commission, was arrested as he left the Spring Branch Bank. And here's what he said.
Ever been in jail before?
No.
Do you have any kind of police record whatsoever?
No.
Are you from Houston?
Yes.
Whereabouts?
Spring Branch.
What type of job is this that you thought you were taking?
It's supposed to be for electrical firm. He never mentioned too much about it. I just hope they find this man.
4 bank robberies were apparently planned, but 17-year-old Dale Sausley of the 1300 block of Janine turned himself in this afternoon after he'd heard of the other robberies on the radio. He said he'd been sent to the Harrisburg State Bank, but left when the teller to whom the note was addressed was not there. Deputy Sheriff Eddie Knowles has prepared a composite picture of the mysterious employer. He's 30 to 35 years old, about 165 pounds, with black or brown hair. He was wearing a straw hat, green glasses, a light sports shirt, and driving a white Chevy station wagon. Officers say a man answering the same description and using the same method of operation held up banks at Pensacola, Florida in July of 1963 and in Las Vegas in March of this year. Houston's domed stadium has now claimed its second life. A carpenter, 53-year-old Frank Halliburton of the 13,600 block of Chrisman Street, fell over 100 feet from the roof of the stadium this afternoon. 5 other men working with Halliburton say they were on the roof at the time. They looked around and Halliburton was gone. His body fell to the 4th floor level where it was impaled on a guardrail. All 5 men were employed by the Texas Roof Company of Dallas. Judge Arnold Crickhammer has denied a bond reduction motion filed by one of the men accused of the Sheps torture robbery. That motion was submitted by attorneys for Samuel Spivey, who, with 3 other men, has been charged with beating the Sheps family during a robbery attempt in March. Mrs. Sheps was shot in the leg during the ordeal. After reviewing the case, Judge Crickhammer said he did not feel it would be wise to lower Spivey's $100,000 bond. The murder trial of a 70-year-old Houston grandmother has gone to the jury. Mrs. Ruby Edna Oliver, who took the stand in her own defense, told the jury in Judge Sam Davis' court she shot Freeport chemical engineer Eugene Thompson after he had defied her requests to stop seeing her married daughter. And Police Chief Buddy McGill, who learned only yesterday that his department was under grand jury scrutiny, met with the jury for 2 hours today. Later, he had no comment. The Houston area came under the critical eye of travel writers and editors from around the nation today. The writers are here at the invitation of the Texas Tourist Development Agency as the state embarks on a first major project to entice visitors. The Ship Channel, San Jacinto Inn, the Medical Center, NASA, and the Dome Stadium are highlights of the group's one-day itinerary. 26-year-old Barry Goldwater Jr. stopped off in Houston briefly today. Goldwater is national chairman of Youth for Goldwater. He told Channel 2 his father's campaign was picking up momentum around the country, and then away he went to Los Angeles to ensure that that momentum to which he referred is not allowed to die soon. Well, you may have to pack a box lunch to go from one side of Houston to the other, but at least now you can do it without crossing any streets. Tom has that story after this word from Jax.
Bartender, another bottle of Jack's beer, please, with the famous real beer cake.
Coming up, ma'am. Jack's beer, mellow, bright, clear, and light.
Thank you.
Pardon me, ma'am.
Yes,
How many bottles of that Jack's beer do you drink a day?
about 10, I reckon.
And what do they cost you?
About a quarter apiece, 5.
Just think, that's $2.50 a day. How long have you drunk Jack's beer?
Do you think that's any of your business?
I'd like to know.
About 98 years.
$2.50 a day for 98 years that's a lot of money, isn't it, ma'am?
I suppose so.
You see that big shiny automobile out front, the one with the chauffeur?
Hmm?
Now just think, if you'd never drunk a bottle of Jack's in your life, you might have owned that automobile.
Do you drink Jack's?
No,
Do you own that big automobile?
no.
Well, I do.
The city of Houston now has 92.9 miles of freeway open to traffic. The 2.9 part of that total was open today. Ceremonies attended by Mayor Louis Welch, County Judge Bill Elliott, and other city and county officials formally put the new highway into service. The 2.9-mile stretch of the North Loop from Edna to Airline Boulevard was built at a cost of $2.5 million. It will allow traffic to move from the Hempstead Highway to Interstate 45 and then directly to town without ever leaving the freeway. The loop eventually will allow drivers to circle the city completely without ever crossing a street. This is Tom Jarrell.
And Larry Rasko reporting Jack's World at Large. Next on Channel 2, Dan Love with Today in Sports.